I'll openly say that I'm not the best chippy, and I think that sometimes makes the best builder because there's so many factors in being a good builder, and that's a personality thing. You've got to really know how to talk to people and be quite presentable. Especially like in this day and age, you've got to have a good schedule and programs out there, so you've got to be quite tech savvy. $200,000 to renovate that house, and it was like, what are you getting for that $200,000? Sometimes it's the biggest investment, or it probably is the biggest investment for some families. Sometimes we're talking millions of dollars. For someone that's got money and that's about to pay for their reno is a big thing to know where every dollar is. We're very transparent. We show our margin, all our preliminary pricing.
What tips do you have for people looking to renovate or build their home?
Getting good documentation is key. Like, it's a hard one because you're spending money before you start the build, and it's hard to get your head around that. But getting good documentation means you'll get a good understanding of where your renovation or what your renovation is going to cost. You know, obviously you're probably going to lean towards the cheaper builder, but at the same time, you've got to weigh up what you want. If you go with the cheapest builder, then are you going to get the service?
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of The Real Estate Show. With me here today is Dale Cheesman, the Director of Melbourne Builder. Dale launched his company in 2010 and he specialises in high-end construction and was among the first to recognise the opportunity of the digital world as a fundamental tool for the modern day builder. Dale, welcome to the show.
Thanks, boys. It's good to be here.
So Caleb identified your work, and as I started to do a bit of research about what you do, I was really impressed, obviously with your quality of work, but then also as well your job with the Australian Open, in which we'll touch in. But just give us a bit of an origin story. How did you get into it all?
Yeah, well, I started as a carpenter, did my apprenticeship out of high school, and Sean and I were mates, which is my business partner. We were mates at school, you know, did our apprenticeship, which is 4 years in a construction industry. And we finished our apprenticeships at the same time and joined up and started a little business at the time that was just specialised in carpentry.
Okay. And how did you find that? Do you find that probably starting in carpentry is probably the best place to go if you wanted to become a builder?
Yeah, I think so. There's different avenues that you can do. Like, I think concreters make good builders, bricklayers make good builders. You know, there's not a lot of plumbers that are builders and not a lot of electricians that are builders, but I think, carpenters are probably the main ones.
Is it because, I don't know, do you get a kind of more of a general sense of everything that's going on because you're kind of working with all trades, or is there any specific reason?
I think you probably find that the carpenter is on the build the longest.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, from framing to doors, handles down to right at the end,
Okay, that's
cladding, most of the time, cladding, yeah.
And was it always your goal to become a builder?
No, not really. Like, I don't, like, my dad's not a builder or anything like that. I probably I knew I wanted to go into a trade. As a kid, I kind of liked watching bricklayers and things like that. So I fell into carpentry, and then I think just in my nature, I want to progress and I always want to get better. So, you know, once I finished my carpentry, the business was a big focus on how to be the best carpenters out there. And then, you know, then I learnt that, becoming a builder, and I went for that, and got my license at a pretty young age at late 20s, which is pretty good, you know, in Victoria. Yeah, a lot of people were saying to me that you can't get it before 30, but it's just a
myth.
It's just a myth, I would like to think that, I think you're just a lot of chippies out. There's a lot of good carpenters out there, and I think my advice to people that want to become builders is you really got to pull your finger out and do it, you know, because there's a lot of people that talk about it for years and years and years. And with Sean, I was pretty lucky with the business is Sean was still working on the tools, and I actually was studying on a Tuesday and Wednesday, which is something that a solo person didn't have. So I was really lucky that Sean kept the business ticking while I was able to study. Because you just can't do it on weekends. You know, sport gets in the way of your social life.
There's always so much. But what makes a good builder? So obviously, obviously putting in the work. But is there anything Is there anything specific? Is there a certain personality trait?
You've got to have a real level head, I think, because you're dealing with a lot of trades and big egos. You've got people, trying to rip you off here and there, and you've got to keep the quality of the trade pretty high because they're representing your license at the end of the day. So I think you need to be, you definitely got to have that. Necessarily, like I'll openly say that I'm not the best chippy, and I think sometimes makes the best builder, because there's so many factors in being a good builder, and that's, like you just said, a personality thing. You've got to really know how to talk to people and be quite presentable to clients as well. You're a salesman. You're everything. Everything but a chippy sometimes. Yeah.
And you're always trying to, you're playing lifesaver, like the firefighter. If someone doesn't rock up or something happens, and you're trying to...
Definitely. And especially like in this day and age, you've got to have a good schedule and programs out there. So you've got to be quite tech savvy, especially with emails and all that kind of stuff these days.
How do you find, obviously, just builders in general? Like, I don't really feel like they are. And like, does that, in a sense, like, doing that, is there some level of does it assist in I don't know, picking up more business or being more efficient to take on more work? Like, how have you found it? Or do you feel like everyone's kind of like, are they using CRM programs and pricing programs? And
I think everyone does it different, obviously. I think I went down to this, I could see a sense that people, like, I don't know, back in the day, they would give $200,000 to renovate that house, and it was like, what are you getting for that $200,000? Why isn't it broken down? And I kind of saw that as an avenue to tap into, and it's sometimes it's the biggest investment, or it probably is the biggest investment for some families in renovating a home. Sometimes we're talking millions of dollars. So to see where every dollar is going for someone that's got money and that's about to pay for their reno is a big thing, to know where every dollar is. And we're very transparent. We show our margin, all our preliminary pricing, and so.
One thing that it's always kind of freaked me out, like as a builder, I'm on a surface level looking in, but do you ever get like scared? Because when you have to price it, especially what you've gone through over the last couple of years, where prices have just gone crazy, like 10, 20, 30% up on an average, whatever it is. Like, doesn't that scare you that you're going to even make a mistake, even pre-COVID, that you're going to be out, like you're going to miss something completely, or there's going to be a hidden factor?
Definitely, and that's the biggest. We've lost on items that we've forgotten to put in, and but then you can't go back to the client and say, I forgot to price this. But you win and lose some, and I think you've got to be in it to win it. So if you procrastinate about a quote for too long, you probably miss it. So there is risk. There's always risk, but that's why we've got our margins and things like that. But to answer your question, plenty. Like we've missed in previous prices that we've done, definitely.
How did you find it with throughout the duration of COVID? Did you provide like a range when you were quoting, or was it still like flat fee?
No, it was still a flat fee. I think we're in a market our building company is renovating properties that by the time we tender and we win the project, we're starting pretty soon. So unless it was really January to Feb, March 2022, where prices just kept increasing weekly, that was a scary moment. But for us, we were again lucky that we weren't starting any new projects. We're kind of on the tail end, so none of those big major materials. Okay. But during COVID, for me, I sensed that people were just pulling out of contracts left, right, and centre. That when March 2020, it was, my phone was hot. It was people were just pulling out of builds because they were scared. No one knew what was going to happen. So I kind of went after littler jobs, small ones, and we picked up 3-4 little jobs. And when it went to 5 per site, that was our only restriction in the building industry. And we were fine. We had 5 people at all these different sites. Whereas the year before, we had a big renovation going, and we wouldn't have been able to Yeah, so I call it luck, but maybe it's my brain kind of sensing what was going to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Bit of both, yeah.
So what area do you specialise in, or what anywhere in particular, or
Location-wise,
you just
very based.
Yeah, we're based in southeast Melbourne, so your Prahran, South Yarra, Malvern, Albert Park. We're based in Oakley, so down that whole Dandenong Road kind of strip. I think with building, you don't want to go too far. As soon as you go too far, it's your site manager won't drop in, and as soon as you're not dropping in, that's when mistakes can happen.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's trying to just keep it all tight and it's something that you can control.
Yeah.
How do you find? So do you only have a certain amount? Like, are you always trying to grow and try to get as many projects as you can, or do you always kind of keep it to a certain level that you can kind of control, and then just work it from there?
Nah, I try and keep it in close and not too many projects. But organically, you just in any business, it just organically grows and grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
So I try as hard as I can to
we've got enough.
Yeah, we've got enough. And then you get this phone call and you look at the plans. You're like, we can't say no to this one. It's a bit of a joke in the business. I'm the yes man. So I'm constantly walking in the office saying, so and so rang me and they're like, you said yes, didn't you? And we can't do it. I'm the yes man, and the other boys kind of try and pull me back a bit.
That's brilliant.
It's hard to take. I think we have to look what suits our business, and sometimes there's plans that come across our desk and it just doesn't suit us. If there's a very heavily involved carpentry, heavily involved joinery, then it's a yes. Yeah. But if it's concrete slabs, bricklaying, we do weigh it up. Yeah.
Nice. And what are you finding even to try and get workers at the moment? So there's a lot of union work where there's the tunnels, the rails, there's everything going on, and obviously the wages that they're offering is pretty crazy, and their benefits, So what are you kind of seeing? Are you kind of struggling on a residential end?
Yeah, so we're struggling to get an apprentice, which baffles me because back in my day, you had to go on a waiting list to trial.
In high school, everyone was straight away.
Yeah, everyone wanted to be a trade. I played footy for years and years and years. Our footy club was all apprentices. Can't get one at the moment, and I don't know what the kids these days at 18 are doing. We're struggling to find apprentices. But in terms of labour, we're pretty lucky. Our subcontractors are very loyal to us, and we've had the same contractors for a while. We pay them straight away. So I suppose there's point of difference there. And then in terms of our staff who work for us on wages, they're a great bunch of blokes. They work hard. We try and provide an environment that's quite flexible. We try and do fun things. Christmas parties are always good. Easter parties are great. Yeah. So I think we just try and there's a lot of my staff at the moment that have had kids or having kids. So I think providing flexibility around there that a union site probably wouldn't is a big factor in a life balance for them, whether it's go and get more money and have no life or be comfortable.
Fair. Yeah, it's fair. It's just it's just wild times, and even like you said, it's what I've been trying to work out. What's everyone coming out of school doing?
Yeah,
it's not it's every industry, even the real estate industry. We had a real estate educator that was on yesterday, and he runs a recruitment company as well. And there's a lot of people a lot of agencies they need staff, they just can't find them.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah, and even you look at kitchen hands, they're looking at $50 an hour.
Yeah.
It's interesting times.
I think for us as trades, it always was probably you're not going to uni and you're not getting a degree, and it's maybe families are putting more pressure on kids that they have to go and do that. Then that's the correct way to go. But I've got 2 sons. I'll be pushing them, and a daughter. I'll be pushing them down a trade based for sure because there's never ending work.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I think even as well, you've got the Australian Open coming up.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about that. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah, so we've done the MasterCard Marquee for the last 5 years. I think it's our 5th year this year, which has been great. They're a great company, a great brand, sorry. And we're also working directly with the Australian Open, which we did the beach house last year, and we're doing the similar thing again this year. So yeah, it's quite fun. Australian Open's booming. Like, it's an international, it's 4 Grand Slams a year, I think, in the world.
Yeah.
So it's pretty big.
Considerably big.
Yeah, and for Melbourne, and I see like the sponsors are jumping on board, and it is getting bigger and bigger every year. It's a bit more like a festival vibe.
Yeah.
So it's a shocking time to work.
Yeah.
Because you've got, your boys have worked so hard through the year, and especially off the back of the last few months for us doing Arbury Afloat and Spring Carnival, and then into Australian Open. The boys are just cooked, and they just want to spend Christmas with their family, and they're coming back after they've eaten their pork, and we're into the Australian Open. So and we don't get a lot of time because the land isn't released to the Australian Open. And I think this year we've got 8 to 10 days or something to build this huge thing. So it's stressful, yeah. A lot of planning.
Okay, so you did the race course and Arbury Float as well. What were you doing for them?
So Arbury we've been working with for 7 years now. We started that I don't know if people listening to this know, in 2015 we did a little pontoon on the Yarra for a trial to see, it was like lobster and champagne, and then it's just grown and grown and grown into this big floating bar on the Yarra. And it's trial and error. Like we've learned along the way on how to pump beer over gantries, and it's just crazy. It's floating on water. Like, I still can't get my head around it, but so that's a big build for us, and that normally we try and get them up and running by about grand final weekend. And then we're straight over to the Spring Carnival, which this year we did 4 Marquees. So we did Penfolds, which was, it was an amazing build. It was really nice. VRC had a restaurant. We did Villa Paradisio, which was, again, a really cool event that they created. And Kennedy Marquee, which is watches and stuff like that, and a little tab kind of punting little marquee there. But yeah, the events are great because we get to, like, it's just out of the stuff, kind of different palettes, and it's creative's being creative, and some things that you wouldn't put in your house, but they're on show for an experience for the average punter.
Please tell me the Christmas party's down at Arbury Float.
Yeah. Well, every year.
We're going to see Dale swing.
Yes, every year we have, but this year we've pulled away from it, and the boys are. I think they're sick of it, but we're on to something better. But we'll be back there.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. Like, why? How did you even go down this path? And like, how do you compare it to obviously, doing, just doing homes compared to this stuff? How did you even get into it, and how do you compare it?
I suppose, like, my wife was working in that kind of birdcage space in a different field in PR, and I was able to go to the birdcage in my 20s and kind of see these amazing builds. And I would walk into these marquees, and there'd be all these celebrities, and all I was looking at is the walls, and just how did they do this?
Look at that!
Like,
look at the timber.
and then sometimes I got up close and looked at it. I'm like, geez, this doesn't even look good. Like, it's just stuck to it with a bit of sticky tape or something. And so I was interested in it, and then there was a day that it popped up on Instagram. I think Gloss Creative was looking for a builder to tender for the Maya Marquee. And I jumped at it and tendered, and we won it. And off we went. And it kind of, but also Arbury, we kind of got a cold call with Arbury too. They were looking at someone to help them out, and that pushed us into getting a warehouse, which not every builder has, or young builders. So we had the warehouse because of storing things, and then we had to buy the panel saw to be able to cut some of this stuff. So that's what developed this event kind of build because you need.
And then you've got those tools.
Yeah, and we had those tools, and then kept going, and then we bought a CNC because we were doing the Lavarts and Marquee, and there was just curves everywhere, and I was like, we can either outsource this, or we can go and buy a CNC machine and set ourselves up, and then that was the event side, but then obviously the odd kitchen came in, and then we started doing our own joinery, and then like now 2022, our joinery company is a standalone business really at the moment that works for other builders, other average people that want some joinery done in their house or things like that. We pick up. So it's kind of, again, it's just an organically growing beast really. Yeah.
It just seemed to happen.
Yeah.
So you got a few sectors that are just like all intertwining.
That's it. Yeah. So when you say like, are you just a builder? No, we're events, we're joinery, and then we opened up a design side. Yep. So there's kind of like 4 pillars to the whole thing.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular? Like, is there anything in particular that you love? Like, do you love the event side, or is there something that you just love the most, or you just generally?
I think we joke about like the events is so fun because in 1 month you get to see what you started, and in 4 weeks' time it's finished. Or in Australian Open, like 10 days, we're going to have transformed this thing. But then also it's the stress, it's the tiredness that you can't wait to see the back of, and you can't wait to get back to the renovations and the slow pace and the nice finishes and the craftsmanship. So there's a bit of best of both worlds. But I can't see ourselves without the events because that's what drives the craziness and the aspiration.
If anyone is like listening to this, because they're pretty big contracts that you have.
Yeah.
What does it come down to? How did you get them? Like, what did you like? Is there anything that you're doing specifically? Are you networking in a certain way? Like,
well, we're qualified builders. We're a building company that is building these pop-ups. Yeah. So our quality at the racecourse and Australian Open and these types of events are very high end. So I think the partners and the brands that are sponsoring these companies might want to see a really high finished touch to it. And that's why they want the Melbourne Builder.
And obviously within probably quick time frames.
And because we've got that building construction company, we've got more of an engine room, and we can really get through things a bit quicker rather than relying on loads and loads of subbies.
Yeah.
And does the design space you're doing at the moment, does that come into play as well?
Yeah, so it hadn't, but not until now. That's where we're working directly with Australian Open, where they've come to us with a concept, and we've got to draw how we're going to build it. Sure. So that's where that drafty kind of aspect's coming into play, and Nauru runs that, and he's learning as he goes as well, but he's picking it up really quick. And I think in that the space has changed a lot, where we used to have a little sketch on paper and build an event, whereas now it's like you've got to have engineering and you've got to have fire certificates, you've got to have an access consultant. There's so many things that you need nearly an architect on the job. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a lot of work. Obviously.
Well, they're temporary structures.
There's a lot of back-end things that people think, just do some drawings, but there's permits.
Definitely.
Just for a standard build as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's probably the case as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot, and it all happens in a week or 2 or 3 weeks to get.
You've got to wait to hear back from someone from a council or something like that, and you've got a full chase and everything like that. I don't know how you feel.
What do you feel like? What's the best project you feel like you've ever worked on?
Residential, definitely the Judd's family home was up there with just the sheer size of it, and the curves, the steel, the stone, the tennis court, the pool. It had everything that you would want to live in. And then from the event side, it's the Arbory. That's just something that you don't have to be a carpenter or a builder. It's just learning about the whole hospitality space and how that works.
Even I don't know, the Judd's home. Did you feel like even Avery? Like, do you feel like sometimes there's a bit of sense of pressure because it's such a big organisation or it's such a big football player or anything like that?
I think pressure, I suppose, but it doesn't matter who our client is. We do the same thing, and I think that's where our structures and our staff and who is in the Melbourne Builder. It doesn't matter who it is. It just, we're a well-oiled machine and we get things done. But yeah, you definitely want to do your best job. And we did on that. Yeah, definitely.
The Melbourne Builder, just the name itself, it's a really good name. Like, how did you get like that one wrapped up? Like, yeah.
No, well, I kind of saw a bit of like when Instagram was started, and it was more of a personal blog or personal page. Yeah. And then you saw like these blogs in the fashion industry, and I just saw that like there was some kind of house inspo stuff, but I was like, I want to start a Instagram page that showcased the best builds. So I came up, I was like, I want the Melbourne Builder. That would be cool, that can showcase. And then I met with a few different agencies, and they just said to me, like, we were all round building at the time, I think, and they were just like, the Melbourne Builder is 10 times better than the name you've got. Why don't you call your company? Don't worry about the blog, just call your company the Melbourne Builder. So we got we did branding and we paid for that, and it just started snowballing from there. And we have since, like, my idea of having a blog and showcasing the best builds in Melbourne, now it's all my builds, and I have never put anyone else's builds on our page. So it's quite funny how an idea turned into a bigger idea in the sense of our company.
It's crazy, like just the whole name, even just I'm sure if you're lead generating through Google and things like that, you do really well.
Yeah, I think if you type in the Melbourne Builder, I think there's heaps of other companies that come up. Like, they're all probably paying for it or something.
Yeah, they're probably running ads towards the name or something.
But it slows my emails down, so I'm happy.
Give them a bit of work.
Yeah. It's got to be shared.
Yeah. Why did you focus, because it's not, like, even now, in 2022, why did you decide to focus on the digital aspect? Because even builders in 2022 aren't doing it.
Yeah, like I said before, when getting my license at a young age, I think that I was a different generation to someone like my old boss, who I speak to weekly, and he comes and works and helps me out too. I was tech savvy. I grew up with MySpace and Facebook and things like that. We had IT at school, and so I think that being able to come into the building industry with a company and a license and that digital background probably made me grow a bit faster, because I was I was there. And I think just in the building industry, Instagram is made for it. Like, we get to Instagram. Building is so picturesque. Like, everything's inspo on kitchens, and so I think that's where I could see that's where the digitally side was. But we put up a sign in front of a job, I think back in the day, in Param, Williams Road, which is main street of Melbourne, and we didn't get one phone call, one email, one follower. So it just shows that, like, I saw then that putting a sign at the front of a job it's only reaching a couple of people that drive past. Yeah. Whereas digitally, we might have followers in New Zealand, or we might have followers in America. I know they're not going to renovate with us, but I could see digital can showcase a lot more than a sign on the fence.
I agree. It's wild. And are you by any chance on TikTok or anything like that?
Well, no, we're not, and we need to be. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, my audience, I'm not going to... Well, TikTok's more for the younger generation, I would think, and we're not renovating for those people yet. But I am always looking for that. What is the next thing that's going to kind of come out?
I'll tell you something, Dale. I always used to think like that as well, and then I realised that parents listen to their children.
Yes.
So, and when I've actually got listings this way, where a 16-year-old will be like, "Oh, hey, mum, you have to use this
Yeah.
person because I've seen him online.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, like I'm just in there like signing it up, like hey. So it's very interesting.
And I suppose your world's been probably the same as well. Like, you know, before realestate.com and things like that, you probably there was a board out the front of a property. So
yeah, well, that's why. I feel like even it was like real estate's really slow as well. I was jumping on social media, like running around fairly early, and I remember it was always the thing. Oh, you know, still do the, you know, we'd go into listing presentations in like 2019, 2020, and they're still like pre-COVID, and they're still selling the newspaper.
Yeah, right.
So, and I feel like real estate's like one level maybe above like being tech savvy to like the building industry.
Yeah.
But they still kind of work very hand in hand with each other. But there's been a few I've seen a few builders on TikTok that they've kind of blown up doing some cool things.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe
Who knows?
it's aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Maybe get a videographer.
Yeah, there is one, and I don't know if you've seen him, he's a property inspector.
Yeah, right.
You're probably not on it that much. But
Nah.
He pops up sometimes and inspects like off the plan, recently completed
Yeah,
properties,
okay.
and maybe, for example, Tullamarine
Yeah.
or something. So it's always out that way. And he finds like something's 5mm off or something ridiculous, and he points it out. And, there's a leak or something.
Yeah, right.
Brand new,
That's
hasn't
cool.
settled yet,
Yeah,
like that,
and
points things out.
he's got like he's blown up. He's gone. I think he's got heaps of
he
followers.
goes
Like,
pretty
Yeah.
good.
and TikTok's like that thing where it's like you put one video and then next thing you know you got like 10,000
Yeah.
followers. You're like, how did that happen? Like,
Yeah, right.
So I don't know, wild. But what do you find? Like, what's the most challenging part of your job?
Challenging part. I suppose just dealing with, like, for me personally, having all these different hats on is quite tough. But I think just probably price at the moment is costings. I feel it's really hard for builders at the moment to justify why the whole market's gone up 30%. You know, a $500,000 renovation is now maybe $700-800. So it's sometimes not taking it like I take it personally, because clients might think that prices, we're putting more money on it. So I find that questioning integrity and things like that. But look, challenging. I'm again, like I said, I've got such a good team that I don't find too many things challenging. Everyone kind of has their role and they do it well. From on site, we've got great project managers, and from contract admin, we've got great contract admin guys, managers. So I think we're doing pretty well, and there's not too many challenges.
When you mentioned the first thing you said was sometimes when you're trying to like manage a few companies, you find that a bit hard.
Yeah.
How do you kind of make sure that you're staying on top of everything? Is it again just making sure that you got a really good team?
Yeah.
Or like,
I think good team, not micromanaging. I think that's the biggest thing, because you can't be across everything. I'm a control freak in a sense, but I'm not an absolute freak. Like I don't want to know every single little detail, but I probably want to know a lot to do with what the client needs to know. Like I want to make sure the client's been informed correctly.
Makes sense. What separates the Melbourne Builder from the rest of the construction industry?
I think our joinery, which helps our speed. Being able to do the joinery at the moment, joinery is just like you guys would see in your houses. Like you sell a house and you move out, and what do you take? Your couch and your dining table. Like your TV units are built in. Your fridge is built in now. So joinery separates us a lot from a lot of builders, because it's technically probably like 20% of the build in terms of cost. And that helps us with speed. I think we're up there with one of the fastest builders in Melbourne, I would hope. And we barely ever go over our contracted days. If anything, we're handing over before the agreed handover date. I think we're good at scheduling. And I think with that event background has taught us to not procrastinate on things, and and push trades and say, you've got till Friday. You have to get it done by Friday. Like, we've got people coming in and pushing trades to get things done quicker as well.
Especially when you're paying them quickly.
Yeah, that's it.
You always need the right.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point you brought up too, is money as well. Like, if we've got a good cash flow, so if we can pay our trades, they will turn up.
Yeah.
And if they turn up, then we get builds done quicker.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely. In saying that, what are some of the most desired trends at the moment in terms of homes? I've obviously noticed that being a real estate agent and we're property stylists as well, curved walls, like maybe for example there's a wall to our right there. Instead of that, might have been built like that previously, then it might be curved. Now obviously I've seen a few showers with the shower head straight down the middle and the wall goes right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Curved
stuff like
showers.
that.
Yeah.
What's some of the main things
I think textured walls. The jury's out on the textured walls in bathrooms, but I think like textured walls in terms of polished concrete, wallpaper is coming back in at the moment. Like, which is instead of having to render a wall or something, they're actually wallpapers going on with different colours and things. And I think it's going to be a challenging time for the building industry and designers in the next year or two, because building prices have gone up so much that people can't afford to build at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see what the trends are to bring that dollar down. And I think it's less tiling in bathrooms. I think you'll start to see less tiling in bathrooms. And I don't know how else they can get this money out of this increasing pricing.
What tips do you have for people looking to renovate or build their home?
I think you've got to have a good builder. Is this before they buy, or they're in their home at the moment?
Just if they've got a home and they're looking to renovate or just knock it down, so they're in the process of engaging a builder.
Yeah, I think getting good documentation is key. Like, it's a hard one because you're spending money before you start the build, and it's quite hard to get your head around that. But getting good documentation means that you can go and definitely go to tender. I encourage people that call me and want me to be the builder, I still encourage them to go to tender, because I just think that you're better off getting 2 or 3 builders to quote your plans, and that's what I was saying before, good documentation. Then you'll have 3 builders that quote the same thing, and then you'll get a good understanding of where your renovation or what your renovation is going to cost. Obviously you're probably going to lean towards the cheaper builder, but at the same time, you've got to weigh up what you want. If you go with the cheapest builder, then are you going to get the service? So maybe choose the middle price.
Yeah.
And that you're not paying the top dollar, and you're not paying the bottom, and you're going to get something half decent. But I think you're able to control your budget there and then. Before you literally knock down any walls, you know what you're up for, and that's where people go wrong. If they just start knocking walls down and off they go, who knows what the cost is going to be.
Okay, so is there any other common mistakes that you see people doing? What are some of the main stuff?
Not going to tender.
Yeah, okay.
I think was the biggest one.
That's the main one. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get constant emails from people that are shopping around their plans. They've been doing it for 6 months. They've been hearing numbers that they don't like, and they're just trying to go to all these different builders to get the sum that and it's a miracle pretty much. And it might be finding a builder that's underquoted and he's going to hit them with variations later. Yeah. So I think doing a proper tender is the most common mistake I find. Is I'm constantly getting people calling me, and that they've had prices before and they just don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Interesting. How about the most common mistakes builders are making?
I might pause for a sec because the most common that builders are making, I would say, is time, not being scheduled, because time is money. So I think the builders that are probably struggling are the ones that aren't organised.
Okay.
And probably picking up from a question you asked before, what separates us from the rest, and that's cash flow, because when we sign a contract, we're ordering every single material, tiles, the works, and we store them at our warehouse, because I'd rather them sit in my warehouse and not delay anything, because I don't know, say we're waiting on tiles and the bathrooms are waterproofed and they're still 3 weeks away, that's adding 3 weeks to
Of course,
our time.
Maybe a
So
couple of days.
yeah, so that's the most common mistake I would say builders are making, is just not being organised, not being scheduled, and probably not having cash flow, which means they can't order these materials early enough.
You find it's a problem in the industry where, for example, I don't know how it works with a renovation, but I know with like a new build, for example, you'll get paid in stages.
Yep.
That maybe that money isn't best life spent. Obviously, you wouldn't have had any experiences yourself, but do you think that's a big problem in the industry? Like,
Yeah, I do.
Things aren't done straight away because budget-wise, maybe something's being thrown off out of budget and there isn't that extra cash flow maybe potentially.
Yeah, I do. I think the payment stages in a new build is weighed too heavily into the client and the consumer. I think that the builder is paying a lot of out of their pocket at the start, and essentially they're paying for someone else's house. We're pretty lucky with renos, we get to kind of write our own payment schedules up. We tend to go monthly, and we tend to make sure it's very even. So never have I had a contract torn up, or we've never exited out of a build halfway. But if we do exit out of a build halfway, I think it's pretty even. The client's paid to a certain point, and I think that's where the builder, like especially the new builds, they're pushed down that avenue of that payment plan, and I think that probably should get looked at a bit more, because I think off the top of my head, I think lockup stage is 35%. Well, lockup's it's near the end. So and we've come unstuck on one project where I think it was a $500,000 contract, and I reckon we were nearly 10%. We were 90% complete, 10% left, and I reckon I only had 150,000 paid. So we were funding a lot of it, and it is hard, very hard on builders.
Well, you don't find any other industries that fund anything like that.
No.
So I've always thought it's probably a lot more
Yeah.
in the back end.
But it comes down to trust too. Like there's good and bad people in every industry, so you don't want to be giving too much money to the bad builder, do you? But if you've got a good builder and you're a client listening now that is renovating, like money is going to help the builder build faster.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you can't the triangle, the project management triangle, where you can't speed, cost, and quality. You can't have all three. So yeah, I think that
How do you see like next year with the cost of materials? Can you see it like dropping, or is this just a new level? Is it going to increase, or?
I can't see it dropping. No, definitely not. I thought that the industry would slow up a little bit. I don't think it has, but obviously we're a month before Christmas at the moment, so things are always hectic. But I think things will slow next year, but we're still, like a lot of our stuff is coming out of China and the rest of the world. So there's still going to be supply issues, and I don't see costs coming down. Once something goes up, it's very hard to see it come down. I'd love to see it come down, but maybe it might on timber if they've got oversupply in timber that they've got to get rid of. But I know coming out of the office, like we're struggling to get white HMR board, which is the board that you use for cabinets. Once you open your doors to your cabinets, the white board, we can't get any packs from now for another month. So there's supply issues still on that sense.
Do you think that's going to linger all the way through next year?
Well, it's catching up. It is getting better. Maybe last year was maybe 2 months you couldn't get any board, but there's still quite a lot of demand, of this stuff.
Okay, and do you see, like next year, is there a lot of people that are wanting to build? Like, are the numbers still relatively strong, or has it come back a lot?
Fortunately, we build in different markets. A lot of our clients might not be heavily mortgaged, so we haven't seen a slowdown. But you know, I do think it will slow down a little bit.
If you had to look across the board, would you say it's
I think it will drop. Say there's 10 people that were going to renovate last year. I think there is 4 people pulling out.
Okay.
So I think that there might be a 40% drop in terms of renovations.
That makes sense. Is there any, like, I don't know, just any hidden costs, or is there always something that people just don't take into consideration? Like, I don't know, it could be when they're renovating, I don't know, it could be, I don't know, permits organised or road closures or anything in particular that...
Even from your point of view and experience as well as a builder, have you ever, like maybe when you first started off, did anything ever catch you off guard, that, like those sort of permits and stuff?
I think, permits, like they're mainly, I think for someone build it, I think they will get shocked with the engineering and the surveyors and these costs. Like before you even start, you're at 50 grand. So those things definitely are costs that I was shocked with renovating something like my own home. But probably just like curtains that a builder doesn't normally have in their contract. Furniture that they don't really have in the contract. So it's probably furnishing your new renovation and your blinds.
And then put all your stuff in storage and it's older furniture.
Yeah, definitely.
15 years.
And then
come back in, you put it in like
people probably don't take a lot of that into consideration.
No. And I think too, like even the bigger the home, obviously you're renovating to get more space. So it's the heating bills and it's the extra things like that, the electricity bills that kind of sneak up on you. That's been the case with me, definitely from renovating a home. But I think just the things that you don't think of, furniture,
Okay.
But in our, like from being a builder, we don't hit variations just for the sake of it. So there's no hidden costs.
Yeah. How about like smart home technology, or what are you seeing in homes? Are they starting to be implemented, or still a long way off? Do you see it having a future?
I think it has a future. I'm really interested in it. I would love to build my next house I build. I would love to have a lot of smart technology stuff in there. But I still think our generation is around switching on a light and switching off a light. Yeah. And a lot of people don't love walking into a room and the light comes on and you walk out. It's a habit thing for our generation.
True.
So home technology, I've got a Google thing on my bench, but do you use it that much? Yeah. I think it does get a bit too crazy with all this stuff, but I'm very interested in it, and I just don't think it's taken, there's not a company that does it all. It's just, you've got too many apps and nothing integrates together.
Yeah, I completely understand. I think it's gonna be wild to see where it goes. Like, for example, with the fridge, where you'll just say, "Hi, hey Siri, can you please get me milk or something?" And then that will kind of play out through the voice. But I still think it's a long way to go.
Yeah,
still a very long way to go. Or, "Hey Siri, add this into my calendar." And you could be in the shower and it's just kind of connected. So
I still don't really do that myself. So.
Yeah,
it's hard to break. Maybe our TikTok generation.
It is, and that was the next thing I was going to say. If you watch like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, just watch them.
Yeah,
they're sitting there talking into the phone. They're not typing.
Yeah.
So that's something where I'm watching them being like, so that's where it's going. So I think when they grow up, so give it 10, 15 years or so.
Oh, definitely. And you've got people like us that I can't even connect my door lock's meant to connect to Google Home. It's taken me 3 years, I still can't get it.
You're like, do everything else.
Yeah.
Do the whole house.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one thing
gets you.
Yeah. I can't even connect Sonos to my TV. I think it's just, I would love to have it in my own home, but trying to work it out, it's just...
If it was just simple.
Simple, yeah.
It's it's always interesting. But Dale, the final question. So this is a question that is left by a previous guest, so it wouldn't be written down. This is you have to answer a question left by a previous guest, and you have to leave a question for the next guest.
All right.
So the question that has been left for you is, what makes a good client and what makes a bad client?
Oh, that's a good one. I think a good client is someone that is decisive and knows what they want. A bad client is someone that doesn't know what they want and takes their stresses out on you. And it's your fault that things have cost more, but really it's their fault because they're so indecisive that they've changed it 5 times, and that's why it's 5 times the price. So a good client is someone that knows what they want, and when you know what you want, we'll do it for you.
I like it. And what are you leaving for somebody?
Geez, you caught me on the spot here. Yeah, I'll have to. I might have
share
to.
with him who the next person is.
Who is the next person?
Builder?
No,
It's not architect or something.
no. Is it tomorrow?
No, it's
Oh, it's a digital.
yeah, Theo.
Yeah. He's an entertainment digital artist, like producer, like
Theo.
oh no, whatever.
I'm
it
doing
is.
a thing.
Oh yeah. I don't know. What could you leave?
Could be anything.
Yeah, I might have to. Give me. Yeah. Give me one. Digital.
Could be anything.
Does it? Oh no, that's a.
It could be anything.
I don't know. Do you hate when someone changes something? Because I know from a digital world, like imagine their edits, like when someone goes, "Oh, can you just change that little thing?" and they probably have to spend 4 hours.
I don't.
Edit.
I was all geared up from. I had what was the most challenging effect from following COVID.
Oh yeah, that was a question we already touched on earlier. In basic, sort of already touched.
Yeah,
on
right.
In earlier in it, so we didn't quite.
That's
didn't
right.
quite get there. That one.
Yeah, Dale, we've been jumping around.
Well, I had a good one there. I said, builders long COVID. I said, is it such a thing? Because for us tradies, the building industry has just been like so lucky to continue to work.
It's actually true though.
And we have not stopped. We literally had a permit that we could drive around Melbourne.
Yeah.
We had a free license.
A few friends driving around when they probably.
Yeah, on builders permits. But most of my staff are young males, so during that 2 years, work was the only thing that they really had. To have a beer after work and work overtime because there was nothing else to do on weekends. They work Saturdays. So probably now it's like struggling to keep these guys enthused into wanting to work overtime, and staff want to have holidays because they haven't had them for 2 years. So it's probably for us trades, we were so lucky to continue, but right now trades out there would hear me. We're cooked, and it hasn't slowed down. And in this last month, in December, it's hectic, and we're just cooked.
And then they go straight into the Aussie Open. And
Just
like
that's my guy. Yeah, it's like another build. But yeah, like I said, I take my hat off to those boys. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. So.
Well, hopefully just a nice January off after that, just to relax, try get some time away and then recharge into next year.
Yeah, well, because we're big enough, we don't stop.
Yeah.
It's the boys go on holidays and it's all just, it's
Yeah.
not, I wish the old days was shut off for January and don't call me. But now it's, everyone's,
schedule it around one person's out.
Yeah.
This person's in.
Yeah, you're working next week, but don't call me.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Dale, honestly, thank you for coming on. It's been
thanks guys.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for providing so much value, and we'll definitely, if you're obviously wanting to follow Dale, it's the Melbourne Builder on Instagram. Do you have any plugs or anywhere else that we can find you?
No, I think just Instagram. Yeah,
done. Get him on
TikTok,
Instagram.
probably TikTok
And TikTok. After this, I'm an account.
Someone will buy the name or something like that. The Melbourne Builder 3 or something.
Literally, but thank you for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.